So guys, we have created this dashboard for an electronic vehicle company. This dashboard is covering the 4 years of performance for that company. So if we select each year, all the data points inside this dashboard keeps on changing based upon the selection of year. This dashboard is covering the revenue by category from different sources of income. Based upon selection of year, the top selling product and the top selling month keeps on changing, and entire revenue, how much has been generated, is reflected here. Also, how much revenue is generated by each country and what are the top 5 performing countries by revenue has been given here. Also, we have created that whatever achievement has been done as compared to the target for each of the zone and what is the overall achievement. And finally, we put the description of the dashboard here, and I hope you will like it and enjoy it. So let's learn it further.
So now let's start to create our dashboard for EV company. For that purpose, we don't need to show these grid lines. So I remove the grid lines and we remove the headings as well. We don't need those at this moment. We'll be creating this data. So I write it as a name for dashboard. And this data will be created in a black background. So we select the black color here. Now, if I go further, you can see we are having the entire raw data with us. So the data of year, region in which the EV has been sold, country name, actual revenue in millions, in which month this was sold, what is the source of income. So it has been sold through automotive sales, energy generation, energy storage, what kind of service or goods we have sold. Next, the type of model has been returned, that which was the name of the model of electric vehicle or service. So was it hydropower, battery chargers, model S, and so on. The quantity of them is returned, target revenue that each area has to achieve is given. Operational profit, we don't need it at the moment, so I just remove it. And zone, which is like different zones, north, south, central, east, in which the people have been given revenue targets. So this is our raw data. Now, using this raw data, firstly, we will go and create our bubble chart. So I select the data, I insert a pivot table inside a new sheet, and I will write it as the name as pivot table. Inside this pivot table, inside this sheet first, we don't need this grid lines, and I remove them. And inside the pivot, we specifically need firstly the sources of income. We drag it here, and we want to show the revenue. So our actual revenues are shown inside the values column. Now we want to show these revenues as the monetary value of dollars. So we go to raw data and we select the column and convert the format into dollars. Now you can see the dollars. Similarly, target revenue, we show them as dollars, and you can see the numbers as dollars. After that, we press a refresh here and you select it as the dollar format, and you can see the numbers have been shown in the dollars. What we want to create a pivot table for these revenues, and from that pivot table, we will be creating our bubble chart. But I'm doing a cell referencing type of calculation here, and I will show you later why this has been done. So I select A4 for our line items, and I do a control V for all those line items, and I write its header as sources of revenue, and I write it as next as revenue header. And we use the VLOOKUP formula to bring the results of revenue from this particular table. And we press F4, and then column index number is 2, and we select is as false because we want the exact numbers. Now, once we have selected the exact numbers, we need to show it in the currency format, and we want to show only data up to 1 decimal place. And this data has been created. After this data creation, we need to insert two headers. One will be x-axis, another will be y-axis. And inside these two headers, we will feed in certain values. So let me just go and feed certain values. But before feeding, let's go and insert our chart. So we insert and we go to charts, we go to bubble charts, and this bubble chart has been selected now. Inside this bubble chart, the option there is for select data. We click on that, and we want to add the data. I click on add, and the series name is sources of revenue and series X values. So we select this X column, we will fill it later. Then series Y values we need to select. We select the Y column, we'll fill the details later. And series bubble size, we select the bubble size is based upon revenue. Higher will be the revenue, higher will be the bubble size. We click OK, and we click OK again, and you can see the data is still blank. But let me just show you, if I press 1 in the X and 1 in the Y, you can see one bubble has been created. Because what it's doing, it's going on the X axis up to one number and on the Y axis up to one number, and this bubble is getting created. For our charting purpose, we need to create a specific metric. So on the second bubble will be 2, 1, third bubble will be 3, 1, my fourth bubble will be 4, 1, and last bubble will be 5, 1. If we do that, we can simply see that all these bubbles have been created. for our chart purpose, we don't need these grid lines. So I just remove these grid lines. On our y-axis, if I double click, there are axis bounds. So the maximum bound which we want is 3. Why we have done? So that these bubbles shift a little bit below and this x-axis bound is above here. Now we don't need this, sorry, y-axis, we remove that. On the bottom, we don't need the x-axis, we remove that. On the header, we don't need the sources of revenue as well. These are the bubble sizes we got now. After getting these bubble sizes, specifically, we want to show the revenue numbers inside that, and based upon revenue, we want to switch and swap maximum revenue bubbles. So what we will do, we will create another column, and before that, let me just bold them, and let me just have the formatting to central. So I write as the maximum revenue, and inside maximum revenue, I use one formula as max of these revenue, and this maximum revenue is showing here. I will put the if formula to bring one maximum revenue out of all these maximum revenues. So if the value is true, it will show the maximum revenue. Otherwise, it will show the blank numbers. I copy paste it here, and you can see the maximum revenue of $5.2 is being $1 million is being shown here. Now, if I change this number manually to 7, you can see that this data point has been updated now. Similar to maximum revenue, I will create another column, other revenues. Now this column will be the revenue except maximum revenue. So we will copy the same formula again, but tweak it a little bit that if this is a maximum revenue, we want to show it blank. Otherwise, we want to show the numbers of revenue, and we just copy paste the numbers here, and you can see that other revenues have been shown here now. Now, based upon the selection, let me just do a format paint here, and let me just again improvise to these to one decimals. Now, these data points have been created. Inside this chart, we will add 2 data series. At this moment, if we go to chart design and select data, we can see one data series is already there. Another data series we will add. The name of that data series will be maximum revenue. And for the x-axis, we will select the previous one, x-axis. For y-axis, we will select the y-axis as well. And for size of bubble, this size of bubble will depend upon this maximum revenue column. And we press OK. And you can simply see that maximum revenue bubble has been shown separately here. Let me just show you by inserting a slicer that these data will keep on changing. So I go to pivot table analyzer, insert a slicer, and we want to show the data using slicer in a year. So if I select 2024, you see the data bars here. The bubbles have been increased and decreased in size. This is the maximum size bubble, which you can see 1.5 million, and this is 1.4, which is competing. Now, if I go to 2025, this maximum bubble size has been increased to energy storage revenue, which you can see, and maximum revenue here as well. Similarly, if we keep on clicking on different slicers, you will be able to see the different revenue numbers. Once we have done that, let's do one another thing to bring the data points on these bubbles. So I click on the bubbles. After clicking, we go to chart design, we go to add chart elements, we go to chart labels, and inside chart labels, we select center. After selecting center, you can see that data labels are being shown, but we don't want to show the name of the axis, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Instead of these axes, we need to show the label values from our revenue sources. So I don't need the Y values. I want to show the values from the cell, and our values from the cell is from other revenue, because these 4 bubbles retains to the other revenue. I select that. You can see the numbers are being shown here. And for a moment, if I, let me 1 second. Yeah. So I have selected them. After that, let's increase their size a little bit, but instead of it's 10.5, let's change the color to white, and let me just do a bold to this color. Similarly, when we want to put the data labels on our higher data sets, then simply we will again go to chart design, we will go to chart elements, we'll go to chart labels, data labels, I can say, I select center, and now you see that this one has been created, but we don't want to show the axis. So we go to, again, this particular formatting label options. We don't want the Y values, we want to show the values from a cell, and we select the maximum revenue from here. We click OK, we click OK, and you can see the maximum revenue is being shown here. Now this maximum revenue needs to be shown on a higher number. So I'm just going and selecting the size as 14, color as white, and this has been selected. Once we do that, let me just show you how this changes. So if I select 2024, this has been updated to 1.5 million through energy generation, which you can see. If I select 2025, this has been changed to 1.5 million through energy storage. If I select 2027, it has been changed. If I select 2026, in 2026, highest revenue was second bubble, which is automotive sales, $1.5 million. And this is changing as well. Now, once we have changed that, we will improve its color. So I select the chart, I do a gradient fill, but I don't want the gradient fill on the background. So I do a Control Z. To undo that, I select the entire bubbles again once more, and I go to fill, and I do a gradient fill. Now, this gradient fill can be done through different colors, but I have selected specific colors. So you can see that for the first color, our hex code is written here, which I have already put. And for the second gradient, our hex color we again already have put here, which is on this place. Now, after selecting that, we can just improve the size of the gradient. So this looks good, which is currently here. Position is good, transparency is good, and brightness we don't want. We also don't want to show the borders here, so I click no borders. So borders have been removed from this particular gradient, and we used fill and border. After that, we go to effects, and inside effects, we want to show the shadow. So the shadow should be shown on the center. So I click on center, and we want to increase the size of shadow a little bit. So I'm increasing the size of shadow a little bit, you can see, and we want to reduce the transparency because we want shadow to be looked very neat and clean. So I reduce the transparency. Once we reduce that, we need to change the color of the shadow. So I have multiple colors to show here. I have selected this light blue color as shadow. So this is giving a glowing effect behind these, I can say, bubbles and circles, and this looks good. And we don't want to use any glow at the moment, so glow is not usable at this moment, and this looks fine. Similarly, let's go to our maximum chart and do apply the gradient. So I go to gradient fill again, but we want to show its color a little different as compared to what it is at the moment. So we go to our colors, and in these colors, let's select some healthy color which may be applied to our chart. And let's go and select the color which is relevant for us. So I'm going and selecting this particular color. This color I have copied, and I go and go to more colors and change the hex color. So once I change that, you can see still this is looking same. So let me just change the first gradient. And for changing the first gradient, let me go and select a little bit different color. Yeah, this looks good. So for that, I go here and I select the color. Now you can see that this is having a little bit glowing effect, and the number is looking quite different as compared to remaining other bubbles. If we want, we can keep on playing with these gradients and change it as well. But for now, this is looking fine, and I just select it and copy the data for our dashboard and paste the data, I can say chart here. And now we don't want to have this background white color, so we go to format and we remove the shape fill and we do a no fill. You can see this is looking very good, and we don't need this border as well. So we go to shape outline and we write it as no outline. Still the outline is there. Let me just remove the no outline. Yeah. Now this looks very good. Also, along with this, let me bring our slicer, which we have created, back to this particular place. And now you can see that slicer is already here. And if we select certain data, our data points on the bubble keeps on changing and updating. Now we need to increase the size of these bubbles. So instead of having this particular size, let me just copy our chart from here and go to our pivot table and paste chart here and remove our previous chart, because on the pasted chart, we have done some formatting of border and all. So we remove the previous chart. What's happening? 1 second. This got removed. Now we want to increase the size of bubbles here. For that, we select all the bubbles and click on format data series. When we click format data series, we specifically go to our, I can say, series and scale bubble size to 100. So instead of 100, let's do it to 200. So we can see that the size has been increased, and instead of 200, we can do it to 250 as well. But in that case, we need to just scale our chart a little bit. And now you can see that the chart has been scaled a little bit. Also, this data point would not be bold, so I'm doing it bold. Yes. So I cut the chart from here, and we go to our dashboard place, and I paste it here. And now you can see a beautiful bubble chart which we have created. And I put the bubble chart here for our reference as of now. If we select any particular year, as you can see, this bubble chart will keep on adjusting based upon the selection of the year. Now, these numbers also are showing as numbers, but we want to show it as dollars. So we go to our pivot table and do the number formatting in dollars. And let me just select as 1 decimal point. And you can see this is showing dollars as well. For our selection menu, as you can see here, we need to update it as well. For updating it, we need to go to slicer, and inside slicer, there are multiple slicers, but we need to convert the slicer based upon our background theme. For that purpose, we go and right click on the slicer, we click on duplicate, and we give it a name as, I can say, EV company slicer. Now, this duplicated EV company slicer has been created. We need to modify it now. For pole slicer, we go to format, and inside format, what do we want? We want to fill the slicer color as black, because entire background we need as black. We don't want to show any borders, so we click it as none border, and the font, whatever we are having right now, that is good with us. So I click OK, and you can see this background has been created as black. But we not only requires this background as black, we need to change these hovering colors as well whenever we hover on these selection options. So what we do, we again go to slicer, and inside slicer, we go and modify the EV company slicer. Now, for the purpose of selected items with data. Now, this item has been selected and this item is having data. What do we want? We specifically want to format it. So how do we fill it? Whenever we have selected, we want its background as white, and we don't need any border in that. And the font we want in the color of black. So the color is already black. And if I click OK, you can simply see that color is black, background is white. For the remaining items which are here, let me just update them as well, because the slicer needs to look neat and clean. So I go to modify as well, and then selected items with no data. Instead of that, let's do first unselected items with data, and we want to format them as well. So we want to fill those unselected item in black, and we want to show the border as none, and the font color would be shown as white, because we have filled the data in the background as black. So we click OK, and you can see that these have been converted to white. Now, if I go and select on 2025, these are keeps on changing. But when I hover over it, I'm getting this yellow like hovering color. I don't want that yellow like hovering color. I just want the white color. So again, we go to our slicer, go to modify, and inside modify, this is showing forward selected item with data. So I go to format and selected item with data. We just want to hover over, and this effect is right now this I can say yellow mix effect. So we go and we don't we want to show the colors, but our first color hovering would be, I can say, white, and second color as well would be white. We don't want to show multicolor hovering here. Forward selected item with data. Also, we want to do hover selected item, or I can say hover unselected item with data. We also want to have the filling of that as I can say white color, and second color as well as white, and do OK and OK and OK. Now you can simply see that when I hover, I just get a white background. So I click on this and I got our number. So this looks a little neat and clean. And at the same time, I don't need this headers where there is the multi-select option. So we go to slicer again and do a modify. And this is asking for headers. So I go and click on headers, and I go to format, and you can see that it's asking for font, borders, and fill. So we want the headers as black, and we want no border here, and post that font is black. We click OK, and then I click on OK, and you can see my border has been removed. And for now, let's keep with these filters, because we will require these filters to select the entire data set together. So if we want to select all the years together, we just can remove this filter as well. Once we have done that, we need to do it in a column format. So we do it in 4-column items. So I select 4 columns, and based on that, this has been created. Let me just clean this a little bit. Once we do that, we can put our selection items here. We will later decide whether to remove this header or not. But for now, this this 1 second, the selected slicer would help us to navigate our data. Let me just make it a little bit smaller, because this is occupying a lot of space. Yeah, we are good to go. Once we have done that, let's create a background for this entire data set of bubble chart. For that background, we'll go to insert. Inside insert, we'll go to shapes, and inside shapes, we will create a background. Let me just send it to, I can say, backwards. This went to backwards, but this doesn't look good at this moment. So we will do a change of color. I can say change color. Now the color theme is black. So on black is a dark color, and we need to select the background in such a manner that it looks good on black color. So we go here and select the shape fill, go to more colors, and do a data here. So you can see this became our background at the moment. Now this background looks fine, but at the same time, let me do one thing: remove the border of the background. So this is my background. Go to shape format, shape outline. We don't need any outline. Now this shape looks good. And let's take this bubble chart here, and we will put it here in a moment. Before that, let's do insertion of a certain text and other details inside this card. So I go to insert and we go to shapes, and inside shape we select the text box. Now for the text box we will write this is our revenue by category, and this is an entire overview, so we write it as overview. We put this here, and once we put it, let's do a formatting for the shape. So we don't want to fill the shape, so no fill. We want the text fill to be as white, and we don't want any outline. We remove that, we do it as bold, and we increase the size because this is working as a header for us. So this will be revenue by category overview, and let me just bring it a little bit here. Okay, fine. Now after this revenue by category, we want to give a very shadowed detail of why this revenue and how this revenue has been arrived. So I can say this is all sources year on year. Now I don't want to show it as a very, I can say, dark or shown item. I want to show it as a very light item. So I select it and I go to format, and on the format I go to text option, and inside this text option I go and increase the transparency. So I'm just increasing the transparency, and you can see that the transparency has been done, and this is showing all sources year on year in a transparent manner. Once we have done that, let me do one another thing which is important for us. So we can put the bubbles here, and on these bubbles we need to define what kind of revenue is coming from these bubbles. So we will insert some more cards, and let me just copy this card only and write the name of these revenue sources. So we go to our raw data, and instead of raw data, let's go to pivot table. And first revenue source is from, I can say, automotive leasing. So I write name as, uh, 1 second, I write name as uh, automotive leasing, and make it a little smaller and reduce the font size, and make it into lines as you can see in the center, and align it here. Once I do that, I just put it as a header in the automotive leasing circle. Once we do that, in the similar manner, we need to copy and paste, and we copy and paste again, sorry, and we go here and give it a name as next line item, which is automotive sales. So this will be automotive sales. Similarly, our third line item would be what? So let me see. It will be, we go here, it will be energy installation devices. So we can say it as energy devices. Our fourth line item would be energy generation. So we go and put it as energy generation. And finally, last one is energy storage. So we paste again and we write it as energy storage. Okay, fine. So this looks little good, but this is not aligned at the moment. So we select them, and 1 second, where is my selection? Why my selection is not happening? Yeah. So my selection is happening now. Earlier some problem was there. So I select these. Only three are getting selected. What's happening with the fourth? Let me see for a moment. 1 second. So we selected this. We selected this. We selected one, two. Third one is not getting selected. So when my third data is not getting selected, there is some issue. I don't know. Instead of that, let's do one another thing. If that is not working at the moment, let's go and do an alignment of these three line items first. So we go and we align them. We want to align them in the middle. So these three are aligned. Now we want these two as well to be aligned in the middle. So we go and align them in the middle. And fine, this looks good now. Align the data, and if we select 2024, let's see what happens. Something is distorted or everything looks fine. So everything is looking fine now. Now, when the things are looking fine, these all looks naked. So we need to put certain, I can say, logos or uh, I line items here. So let me just do it zoom here, and we put lines. So we go to insert, and inside shapes we go and select these smaller lines, and instead of line, let's take the, I can say, uh, square type of details. So I just select it, and I want to fill it with a color. So my color would be matching to my theme, which is this, and I don't want any outline. So this looks good, and on this particular shape I go and do a format, And I just want a little bit of transparency, so I do it a transparent up to 12. And inside shadow, I want a very little shadow, which we can see here. Now, this has been done. And once this has been done, what we can do, we can just bring it little here and reduce its size. So this size has been reduced and fine. So this looks fine. Now we copy the item here and select this as well. Paste it to the third line item. Again, paste to the fourth line item. And finally, paste it to the last, which is our fifth line item. Yes. Now, this looks a little better. And let me just reduce the size as well. Now this looks better. Once we have done this particular selection, my all the numbers are in millions. So let me just copy this text and insert here it as dollars in million. And let me reduce its size a little bit up to 9. Yes. And let me just put it instead of 10.5, let me reduce the size to 9 because that will be a very smaller thing to reflect. So this is fine. Now, this is being shown in millions, and this is our revenue by category, which is showing our overview of all sources of revenue inside this particular shape. Once we are done with that, let's do one thing that all these are scattered on different places. So we want them to be aligned appropriately. So we select all these line items. And after the selection, what we will do, we will create a group. So we selected them. And inside the selection, we don't want to select this table. So except that particular slicer, all the items are selected. And we group them together and we click on group. Now these have been grouped. So we can simply, based upon selection of this group, let me just show you, we can just drag it anywhere based upon our requirement. So this primary dashboard has been created now. After that, we need to show and create certain cards, which will show our highest selling product, highest selling month, and so on. Now, let's go and create our card for showing our top selling product and top selling month. For that reason, I create a copy of our shape. And while copying that shape, let me just resize the shape. And based upon resize, I create another copy out of this particular shape. And this looks a little bit okay. So I just delete the copied shape. Now, inside the shape, we will go and do a formatting. So I go and do a format shape. And we will go and do a gradient fill inside the shape. And whenever we are trying to do a gradient fill, I don't want to do a gradient fill inside this entire shape. So what simply we will do, we will copy the same color, which is here. I copy the color and select the same color again here and do an OK. Now, once I have done that, let me just remove the gradient style. So the gradient can be linear, it can be rectangular, it can be on a path basis, and the direction of gradient can also be different. So before going to that, this was our shape, and the color of the shape was specifically selected here. And if I do a copy of this color and go to our shape, and on the second gradient, I do a paste for our original color, you can see that the gradient has been shown there as well. But I want to show it little bit on the top. So let me just do it like this. And I want to show the gradient on in a linear fashion. So you can see it's showing on the top right, or I can say bottom right of this particular chart here, which looks fine. Now, based upon this selection, we will go and create a header for this. So I copy our header and give this header the name of, I can say, top selling product. And I just select it here. And this top selling product, I need to put it another icon here. And for that icon purpose, we go to insert and we go to shape. I select one shape here. And inside that, we will insert one icon. So I go to icons and I try to find if something is related to product. So you can see this when I search. Then icons are 3 only which relate to product. So instead of product, let me just go and select another icon which we can see. Let me see what can be selected. So our icon would be this bank like symbol, and we change this bank like symbol's color to, let me go to more colors, and inside more colors, let me go to custom, and when I go to colors, I have multiple colors. I feel like this color, which is the yellow shade, is quite better for this particular symbol. So we go and do a selection and just convert its color. And once doing that, we just make it as small as possible here. And this entire box, we need to color this as well. So for coloring this box, this was yellow. So this would be, I can say, this shade. And I go and fill the color as well. So filling the color here and putting the shape here as well on the center, I can say. Now selecting both of these elements and go to graphic format. And firstly, we will try to align them in the middle. And then we will try to align on the center. And you can see these are aligned. And we will group both of them. So group these items and create it very small, just like if you can see, this looks very small here. Fine. Once we do that, we put this icon as the top selling product. And this icon is being shown here, which is approximately equivalent to the size of these line items. So we are good to go here further. Once we have done this, we need to show that this product is this card is related to product. So we increase the size of the product only, and we make it up to let's take it 20 and do it like this. And this product's color needs to be updated as well. So for that, we'll go to our colors again, and we'll select this shade of color, and we go to product, and we change the color of it based upon the selection. And the custom selection would be this one. Now, this is giving a highlighting effect that this card is talking about the product. Once we've done that, we will go to insert, and we'll select a shape, a line, and I took this line. And when we take this line, let me just see if this is straight. Yes, this line is straight. And we put this line here because this will show the bifurcation of two things. One is our name of the product and the total revenue from that particular product. So I select it like this. And for that particular line, we go and we select any color. So this color looks good. And I do a, I can say, shape outline and change color. Inside the customs, we go and we paste the color. So this has been updated. Once we do that, we need to insert two more text boxes. So I copy the text box from here. This is taking a little bit time, not sure why. Give it a moment. I think this got closed. And let me, yeah, this got open. Now, so now let's try to put the data of top selling product here. Before that, we go to our pivot table and we copy the pivot table. We paste it here. After pasting, we need to change our row labels. For that, we go to our pivot table source items, and we need to put the type of model. Type of model is containing the name of the products which we intend to sell. And we need to show our revenue by highest to lowest. So we write the sort as largest to smallest. And the hydropower is having the largest revenue in 2027. In 2026, geothermal power was having the highest revenue. In 2025, battery chargers were having the highest revenue, and so on. Once we do that, inside these text card, we cannot do a equals to from the pivot table. So instead of doing it from pivot table, we go and create the same data set as pivot table. So I write K3 and copy paste this entire data here and do a bold to this data and create a border for the data and border on the numbers. Select the numbers, and you can see this data has been created now. Once we create this data, let's have the border here as well. Once we create the data, we go to our dashboard and we go and do a equals to, and we go and select our highest selling product revenue, which is 1.5. You can see it's showing as 1.5 here. And this 1.5, we need to color it as, I can say, white. And when we do it white, we need to increase the size of this item as well. So 1.5 is good. We make it bold and we align it central and middle. And let's take it this number on the right front. Okay. Similar to this, we need to create another equation for showing the name of the product. So we go here and just select the name of the product, which is our battery charger with equal sign. Similar to that, we change the color to white and increase the font size. So when we increase the font size, this is coming to 18. Let's open this a little bit more. Let me just open it a little bit more. And yes, we can see that our battery chargers were sold. Let's create a little space here. Let's bring it to below and let me increase the size. So let's try to have this evaluation. So this is our line, and I need to just increase the size of the line to make it more aligned. And let's go to our number as well. This was our number. Let's bring it in the middle of this gap. Now this looks better. and let's go to our original size. So this is showing our top selling product based upon year. So if I select 2024, you can see hydropower. The value was 1.5 million itself. In 2025, battery chargers were sold, value was 1.5 million. In 2026, geothermal power was sold, value was 1.2 million. And in 2027, hydropower was sold. And in 2026, the L out of this thermal is showing here. So let me just extend it a little bit. Now that looks fine. So in this way, we have created one of our card, which is required for reflecting our model here. So we need to duplicate this card and its element. Before doing that, this element is going a little bit up. So let's align it now. Now this looks good. So we go to all the elements of this card, right click and group them into one line item. And you can see all of them are grouped together. And let me see what's happening. Yeah, this one line has not been grouped together. So let's do one thing. Let's bring this to front, and this we brought to front. And now we need to select the line item here and group them as well. Now these have been grouped. So when we selected this entire shape, you can see that we can move it around. Once we do that, we just paste it here. And what we do, we create a copy of this shape. Once we create a copy, and the next card which we intend to create is, before creating that card, let's align these two shapes. So I go to graphic format and I go to align, and I want to align them in middle. Instead of middle, I want to align them, I can say, in center. Now these are aligned, and I want to distribute them horizontally. These are already distributed, so these are grayed out. Now, instead of top selling product, we want to show the next line item here, which is not our top selling product, but the line item which we want to show here is the month. So top selling month inside any particular year will be shown here. Similar to the table of highest product, let's go and create a table showing month level data. Now, this table will have the month level data. I go here and I remove the type of model and I select the month. So you can see all the months are being shown here, and these months are packed to this slicer. So in 2024, all the months are related to 2024. When I select 2025, all the months are related to 2025, and so on. So in the 2025, all these months are here, and we know that this already has been sorted through largest to smallest. So we can see that these all are the month largest to smallest. Similar to the previous table, we copy it and paste it here. Now this data has been converted to our month level data, and let me just copy it till below line items. Yes, and these borders are not looking good at all. So I remove the borders, and after removing the borders, I do only outside borders, then header borders, and then only column borders. Fine. Now this looks good. So based upon that, if I go the name of the month here, I go and select the name of the month. So this is showing June. We will format it. So I go to the text image and try to format it, but it's not getting format because these are the images. So instead of going through that, let's just change the color to white. We knew that the size was 20, and this is showing the right picture here. Let me just put it a little bit above. Similar to that, we need to improve the name of the value for that particular month, and we selected that. Now we need to give it a color. Where is the color? We need to give it a color, and we need to increase the size of this line item to let's say 20. We need to make it bold, and we select this June, and again we need to make it bold. And based on that, we can see that this doesn't look aligned. So what we need to do, we just have to push them a little bit. Now, once we have done that, you can see that when we select, let's suppose year 2024, the month keeps changing. So it's August, and in August, highest selling was $0.6 million. In 2027, highest selling month was November. The highest sale was $0.6, $6 million. Similarly, in November and in 2025, 2024, the numbers keeps on changing based upon our pivot table. Now let's insert our data of revenue using the geographies. So we go to our pivot table, and we copy our pivot table data from here. And after copying, we paste the data here. Now we want to show the revenue based upon different geographies, that is different countries. So we remove the source of income and we show the country name here. Now we can see the countries are being shown here. After showing the country, we don't need to show this grand total. So we go to design and go to grand totals of 4 rows and columns. Now you can see these are our pure revenues. For inserting the map chart, we create again W3, a similar copy to this pivot table, and we do a control V. Then again, we need to format it like a table. So we go here and we format it like a table. After formatting it, we can see that entire revenues are being shown. And if we bring the years, so if we select 2024, 25, 26, 27, and so on, so the revenues are being shown based upon selection of year. We go to this data, we go to insert, and inside insert, there is the option of maps. This option is available post 2019 Microsoft Office and Microsoft Office 365. So I go and select the data, and now you can see the chart is being shown. I delete the right side, and it is clearly visible that the revenues are primarily coming from Chad, and then the country of Australia, and then India. These three countries are being primary source of revenue for 2024. If we go to 25, then the proportions are changing based upon the revenue generated from each country. Now, India is having the highest revenue here. If we go to 2026 and 27 and so on. So these revenue structures are changing based upon the selection of year. Now, when we selected this chart, you can see that there is an error of showing 0 here because there is no data inside this line item. And this is an I option. This is showing we plotted 86% of the locations from your data with high confidence. Because this is showing as 0 here. So what we do, we can create a if formula. If this one is equal to blank, then we keep want to it as blank. Otherwise, we want to show the values. So we paste the formula here again. Now you can see that this error has been removed from here. Once we copy it and we go to our dashboard, we paste it here, and you can see that still the error is being shown about 86%, and we remove that. Now let's take it here and let's try to format this chart. So for this particular chart, I go to format, and for formatting this chart, we go to fill. And do we want to fill the gradient color? The gradient doesn't look here good, so we go and do a no fill, because no fill gives more reflective representation of the data. And for borders, we don't want the borders around this particular chart. As you can see, we don't want to show the chart title. We remove that chart title. Now this looks good. After that, there are option of shadows. So we don't want to show the shadows. But inside this particular chart, what do we want? If we select any country, we need to show the series options. So there is a map projection option. We can convert it to a different color, that how the map would be shown. Mercator, do we want to show the map in the form of Miller? So automatic map is quite good for us because we will be referring that. After that, map area, it is showing automatic or only regions with data. If I select only regions with data, then highest data points are being shown. I want to use it at automatic. And finally, map label, I want to keep it as none. After that, the series which we want to show, so the minimum value and the maximum value we want to show in a color. So based upon our theme, we will go to colors, and inside colors, we will see the colors available based upon our theme. So the maximum value should be shown using this dark shade of color. And if I go here, and maximum value should be shown using the dark shade. So I'm just selecting this number. Now you can see the maximum values are being shown in the dark shade, and the minimum values, this is asking. So the minimum values can be shown. I can say go to more colors, and minimum value should be very, very light. So I go and click OK. Now this has been done. So this chart has been done here based upon the selection of year. Let's see what happens. If I keep on changing the year, you can see the most dark color, and based upon the most dark colors, the country's data is being shown here as the highest sales. Now let's put a little bit formatting and the background here. So let's copy our format of a background, and let me just copy and paste it here. I don't want to copy this data. Let me just Control Z. Let me go and select this what we call this shape only. So I just copied the shape, and based on that copy, we want to create the chart. So let me put it on the right side first, and we go here. We then just stretch it a little bit, and our chart is here. So we will bring our chart to forward. So I right click here and bring the chart to forward. Now the chart can be looked here. And let me increase the size of the chart a little bit. It looks fine. And let me just do it on the left side of the graph. Now, once we have done it, you can see that this data point is powered by Bing or something. So we don't want to show that, but still this is showing. So at this moment, what I will do, I will just do a copy paste, and I will create a strip to hide this Bing and so on. So I will do that, and once I have done that, I will group those two images together. Now the Bing is not shown here. After this, we need to show our revenue by geography. So we copy our tagline from here, and we come here and paste, and we write the revenue by geography, or I can say country overview. This is all sources year on year. And on the right side, we want to show the revenue or the top 5 countries by revenue along with their revenues. So what we will do, we need to show 5 countries. Before that, we need to insert some shape. So I go to shape, and inside the shape, I go and create the shape. I copy the shape. I create a smaller version of the shape. Let's fill the shape with the black color, and this black color, let's align both of them. And this background color, let's fill the background shape and format it. So we go to format, and we just want to glow it. So I'm just creating a glow for this particular line item, and the color of this which I intend to choose is not blue. The color for glow, this looks good. However, the fill inside the shape, let's change the color of the fill to, let me go to colors, and let's go and choose the fill color. So the fill color would be this, which we are selecting at the moment. And what we will do, we will just create a group of these two images. Once we create an entire group, let's make it very small. Uh, Let me just zoom it out to see if this works fine. Let's make it very small. And the shadow of this glow is too high. So let's remove the shadow. So let's increase the transparency. No, let's not increase the transparency and reduce the size of this glow. So this is, yeah, the glow looks very on a higher side. So let's do a little glow only. Don't do it very much. So let me just reduce its size to 0. Now let's come back to our original size of 100 around. Yeah. So this became our first bullet point to show our entire revenue and the top revenue by country. So this is our first bullet. Now we want to put the name of the country in front of that. So we go and copy the text item, and we write as let's make it little small. Hmm, let's reduce the size of this entire chart as well, because we don't want to show this big chart. Let's do it on some left. Let's take this, let me write it as I put it as equal, and we want to show top 5 countries by revenue. So I will go and select the name of the country here. And before doing that, let's do a ordering of this data. So I'm sorting from largest to smallest. So this has been sorted, and the first country is the largest country. So this Australia has been selected, and the name of the country is here. Let's give it a color of white, and let's increase the size to around 12 and make it bold. So the first country is Australia, and we want to show the value as well, because we our stakeholders would need to know the value of total sales generated from top 5 countries. So again, let's go and select our entire pivot table data, which is $1.7 million, and let's do a color of white. Let's do a white color, do bold, increase the size to 12, and this looks good. Once we have done that, let's go and align these 3 line items. So we go to shape format. Inside shape format, we go to align, and we want to align them horizontally. So these are now aligned, and we want them to come to the middle. So these all are in the middle now. Now we will be creating a group for them. So this group has been created. So this is one line item showing entire revenue. Similar to that, we will create the next 5 line items. So this would become our second line item. Let me just adjust it. This will become our third. This will become our third line item. 1 second. This will become our third line item. Then it will be our fourth line item. And finally, we will be having our fifth line item, which is our uh, top 5 countries. So I paste it here, and we put 1 second, this here as fifth line item. Once we do that, we'll select all the line items here, and we'll go to shape format and align all the line items vertically. So these all are aligned, and also we'll align them in the middle. So instead of middle alignment, let's go and do the alignment in center. So we align them central. Now this looks good. Based upon these selections, we will update the data points here. So I will quickly go and update the data points. So instead of 4, it will be 5. And instead of 4 again, it will be 5. Similarly, it will be a 6. It will be 7. These are the data reference point in the pivot tables duplicate table which we created. And finally, this will be 8. And similarly, this was 5. So we need to convert this into, I can say 6. And then we can say it's 7. And then it's 8. Finally, we did them. And let's select these shapes and try to convert their formatting. So we converted them white and bold, and size converted to 12, which is aligned with the initial numbers. Now, this looks good. So this is revenue by country. Our overview is here. Let me reduce the size of this chart a little bit, and let's see how does it look when I convert the year. So if in 2024, the sequence of countries revenue is being shown. In 25, India was having the highest revenue. In 26, Argentina came on the top because it may happen that company has started and expanded its business operation in Argentina. And in 2027, the situation is Australia. So this company may be in expansion mode in different countries, and we can see this through this geographical chart. Now, let's do one thing. Let's increase the size of this chart because this will help us to Now let's increase the size of the chart to match the total size up to here so that this chart can be shown in a larger manner, because this is a very helpful and requisite information. So let me put it here, and let's increase the size of the chart, and let's see how does this look. And finally, this looks let me just bring it here. This looks a little bit fine. Yes, this looks fine now. And let me just take this particular strip which we took and put it here. Now, this looks good. But the alignment of all these countries is not in the center. So let's do one thing, put them a little bit below here. Now these are centrally aligned. And let's put one header by saying these are the top 5 countries by revenue. So we just filter it here and we write top 5 countries by revenue. And we just put it here, and these are our top 5 countries by revenue. Once we have done that, we will be creating another comparative statement for our analysis, which will show our total revenue versus the targets which each manager was being given. So what we have done, we have created, let me just delete this chart because we don't want to have the duplication of data. Fine. Yeah. So we have created inside our raw data that every zone across these countries have been given certain targets. Just like North was having the revenue target of $0.7 million, while its actual revenue was $0.5 million. So we want to show that how much revenue percentage has been achieved by each zone in their as compared to their targets. So we go to our pivot table, and let me just put it here a little bit for our cleaning purpose. And we go and select our pivot table. Now inside this pivot table, let me go to our field list, and let me just remove the countries from here, and let's select the zone. Now zones are here, and against those zones, let's put the target revenue as well. Now you can see that against each zone, the target's revenue have been shown. It looks like the central team has achieved, or the central zone has achieved maximum of its revenue target. Others are lagging behind a little bit. So what we will do, we will go and create the similar kind of tables, which we have been creating since long. We copy this data, and we just don't, 1 second, it's AC4. Let's copy and paste it here. And then we need the data from AD4. These are our, not the target revenue, but these are our, and these are our zones. And when we copy the data here, we get the target revenues. Let's make it a little clean. And this table has been created now. Let's remove the last line, which is not of use. And let's create the border again. Now, this looks clean. So we will write that how much percentage of target has been achieved. So we'll write it as target achieved. And inside this target achieved, we will say this is the revenue. This was the target. So revenue by target, and we want to show it in terms of percentage. So we can see that different zones have achieved their targets in a different manner. So this was 100% for central, east is 41%, north, south, and west. These 5 zones have been there. After creating these targets, we need to create an overall target as well. So what we will do, we will go to our pivot table again and show the grand totals for our columns. We can see that the grand totals for our columns are here, and we copy the data points again and we just make it a bold. So if you can see that overall, all the zones including have achieved 63% of their entire target in 2027. If we keep on changing this slider to 24, the situation may be different, just like you can see. Now, based upon these targets achieved, we will be creating our entire zonal performance. For that zonal performance, we will be coming here. And now, coming to here, what we will do, we will select our basic format and we will have a copy of it. After that, we will just create a bigger line here to show the impact on our targets versus actual. And I'm just taking this as a larger box here, which you can see. Inside this box, we will insert our 5. So now we will be inserting our shape for showing the actuals versus target. For that purpose, I will go to insert, and inside shape, we will go and select the text box. Inside this text box, we will be going to insert again and go to symbol. And inside the symbol, we will go and select the circle, which is named as subset combining diacritical marks for symbols. And we do insert. Once we do that, we need to increase the size of the symbol. So let me just increase it to approximately 200. 200 is quite high. So let me do it around 150. And yes, 150 looks good. Once we have selected that, let's go and try to format it. So I just select the shape, and inside the shape, let's go to our format painter. I go to format shape, this particular shape. So for editing that shape, let's go and do the shape color as white. And we don't want to have this shape outline, so we don't need the outline. Outline is removed. After that, we want to give this effect of glow. So the effect of glow would be shown on the shape. You can see there is a light effect of glow here. So if we go and do a little bit more formatting, I go to format shape and the text option. This is a text because this has been inserted using the equation. After we go here, let's do a shadow check, and I want to show its shadow, and the glow is already here. And I want to increase the size of glow a little bit. As you can see, the glow has been increased, and I want to decrease the transparency so that it looks more better. Now the glow is looking more better, and our first shape has been created, which will reveal our achievement versus target. So I use the second shape here, which you can see. So second shape we paste here, and the third we paste here. Now after selecting all of them, let's just reduce its, let's just keep it a little bit on the left. And I can see that this glow is getting cut because of the size of the shape. So let's do one thing. Let's select this and go to home tab and make it in the middle. Once we do that, we can see the edges of these shapes were getting cut earlier. Let me just remove these shapes because the edges are not right. Fine. Now let's copy it again and we paste it here. And then again, we paste it here. So we selected these 3 shapes, and let me put it a little on the left. Second shape, first shape, and third shape. Let's try to align these shapes. So I go to align. I call it as distribute horizontally, and I want to align them on the center. Now these are aligned. Finally, I will distribute them horizontally. Instead of aligning them, let's do center. Instead of that, let's do it middle. Yeah, now it's working fine. Once this working has been done, you can see that the last circle is going a little bit outside of this shape. So I'm increasing the size of shape as well. The size has been increased. Now inside each circle, I will insert certain data. So for that, we will go and insert again one of the, I can say, data points. So this is the text. We copy it, we paste it, and let me put it here. And let me put its name as East. And let's increase the size of East. So the size has been increased. Now we need to put one dot here before this text because otherwise it would be not look good. So we go inside the insert and the shape, and this particular shape is here. I make it a little bit round. I again go to insert because I just press Ctrl Z, and this is the shape which we need. And we don't need the outline for the shape, and we want to fill the shape with a particular color. So the color would be is based upon our theme. And let me just make it a very small dot, and let me just copy it, or let me just increase the size little bit because that become very small. So yeah, so let's copy it and let me paste it here. Now when we paste it here, this is this looks little bit fine, and this is our east. Yeah, this looks good now. Let me delete the older one. Now we need to insert about how much percentage east division was having. So let me just go and copy it and just paste it here. And I want it to be a straight line. So this is a straight line, and let's put it here. Let's change the color of this outline. So the color ideally would look good here. And yeah, that's fine. If we see it here, this looks good. Fine. Once we have done that, let's go to our table here, and we know that in the east, the data is being shown here just like any other region. But what will happen if we select, let's suppose, any particular year? So you see that whenever we are selecting any particular year, the tagging of the zones remain same. There is no change of tagging. But if there would have been tagging, we would have used some formula at this moment. The tagging and the sequence remain same. So I will go and select this. Before selecting, let me just copy and paste it and insert about it here. Now, let me just go and use the east percentage as 41%. You can see that the 41% has been inserted, and its color would be converted to white. The size is we are increasing because we want to highlight this 41%, and we are making it a little bit bold. So you can see that east has achieved only 41% of its target. Similar to this, we will be creating other shapes as well. But what I will do for our convenience purpose, we will go on each and every shape. And before that, let me remove these shapes because we have already worked on one shape, and we will copy and use the similar features on all the remaining shapes. So let me just select all of these line items and finally the shape. Now let's group them together. These have been grouped together, and let me just pull it from here. This line has not been grouped, so let's just put this line again here. And 1 second, let me just do Control Z, and let's do one thing. Let's format this particular line. So this is the solid line, and the color is being selected. Transparency is right. Width is 0.5. Let's increase its width a little bit so as to give it more reasonable looking line. And now the line is here. We select the shape, we press group them together, and we grouped these items together. So this has been created now. Now, once we have created this, we will create a copy of this. And in our data set, we are having 5 regions. So the second region is here, and the third region is, I can say, here. We have the fourth region as well. So the fourth region is here. Our fifth region I have created, and that region is here. And finally, once we create them, our final total details will be shown on the top. So our last, I can say, region, which is our, I can say, not the region, but the total overall. So I will name it as overall. And we will update it a little bit later. Let's update the remaining ones first. So I have selected East, and after East, we will be selecting center. So the center percentage is 100%. And let me just write its name as firstly center. Wait for a second. So 1 second now. Let me write it as a center. Right now, what's happening is like this is coming from Z4. Let me see what is Z4. This is showing pivot table Z4. So what is Z4? Z4. So this is not the right tagging. So I will go to pivot table and go and select central here. Now this has been updated, and I will go to central, and the percentage in front of central is 100%. Similarly, I will go to, okay, let's do one thing. Instead of this being east, let's tag it to let's tag it to the table directly instead of writing it manually. So I write it as East, and the percentage from the table is 41%. We will improvise this, and let's go and write it as our third line item. Third line item is North, and the percent for North would be in front of North. So it's 60%. Then we will be going to our fourth line item, which is South, and the percentage for South will be in front of South, which is 65%. And it's saying reference isn't valid because it may be possible that, yeah, reference is actually not valid. Let me just correct that. So this is South, this is correct now. And after that, we have the final zone for us, which is West. And the percentage of achievement for West, which we can select, is 67%. Now, once we have done that, we will select our data points inside here, and we'll format these numbers. So we select it, then we select next one. 1 second, then let's select the next one, then the next one, next one, next one. Let's see what happens if I do it a white color. These all have been converted to white. Let's increase the size to 20. If we increase the size, what's happening? This is distorting the circles as well. So we need to be very precise and clear in what do we want. So this is our East, this is our percentage. Let's then increase them individually. You can see that it has been done. The number needs to be a little bit on the left, and the circle should be here. This looks fine. Yes. Similarly, for central and the percentage, we'll increase them, and just doing the right thing and doing it a little bold. The size was different here. So let me see what was the size here. This was 24. This was 24. Then ideally the size should be equal. We click here. We click here. We increase the size to 24. Yes. Now, if we increase the size, we need to work upon them as well, because in that case, these will go outside the shape. So let's do one thing. Let's put these bullets on very much left. The central should be here, and the 100% should be here. Let's do the control B for bold, control B for bold again here. These two have been done. In the similar manner, we will go and do the work for north as well. So we increase the size to 24 and just aligning them. Now let's bring the circle to the left, north and north. Let's bring them in the center. Let me just 1 second. So let's bring it below this line. Perfect. This looks nice. In the similar manner, we will go to south and the next number as well. So I increase the size of the south to 24. Let's increase the size as well, and let's bring the bullet on the left, south here, and this number again needs to be done at 24. So we converted it to 24 and getting the south as bold. And lastly, we have this west as a zone here. Before that, let's bring this bullet on the left, west zone, size is 24. There, ideally, we would have done this in the first circle itself, but we just created a duplication here. This would have been avoided, but we learn by doing certain things, and yeah, this has been done. So this looks good, but this east is not looking exactly what it should look like, because these two are not in the center, and this particular line, these numbers are, yes, now this looks fine. So before this overall, let's see what happens if I select 2024. When I select 2024, you can see the percentage achievements are getting changed for these zones. In 2026, central zone has achieved almost 100%. And in 2027, the central has again achieved 100%, but there was a change in other zones as well. Now, let's go and do the working for this overall tab. So for that, we need to highlight it in a different format, as this is showing the overall numbers. So we go to overall, and then we go to text options. We have already done shadow, but it's not shadow, the glow, but its glow can be having a can have a different color, because based upon a different color, it can be easily identified. So let's see what can be done here. And if I select the glow, okay, let me just do one thing. Let's go a little bit right so we can see our data. Yeah. So this is our table. And for that, we are going to do a formatting. and we go to text options, and inside text options I go to here, and I want to show the color in a different manner for the overall number. But this overall number doesn't look very alike to the below color scheme. So let's just don't do a single color only. Let's try to have a multicolor impact here. Plus, the impact should be very, very minimal. So what we can do, we can increase the size a little bit, and we can reduce the transparency. So now the transparency is getting reduced, but it's getting to show inside the circle as well. So I just need to reduce the size as well again. So I have reduced the size. Now this looks good, but this is getting mixed again inside the remaining colors. So we have to see what can we do. So let's go and try to find different shade of this blue color, or I can say purple color. So we select this shade, go to Excel and go to more colors. Let's put it here and let's see what happens. Now this looks good because this is in the same family of colors. When we done, you can see that we need to just update this from the text which we were writing manually to the text which is in our table. So our table is having the text of 64%. As well, here we need to put the text from our table. So the text is not here. This is a grand total. So instead of that, let's write it as overall. So what I will do, uh, I think I have put the percentage above. So let's do one thing. Let's bring this percentage below and let's write its name as overall. Overall, or I can say overall achievement. And let me just spread this little bit more, little bit more here, and reduce its size, because without reducing the size it won't fit in. So this got fit in right now, but we need to adjust a lot of things here. So we need to increase little size of it so that it looks good. Now let's take this bullet from here and bring it on the left little bit. Once we have done that, let's go to our overall achievement, and we need to reduce size to around 17, or I can say around 16. And when we did that, we need to just adjust these little bit because these are very, very precise. So let's take this bullet little bit above here, and this is our overall achievement. Perfect. Now bring the percent here and change its color to white, size 24, and bold, you can say. And this 24% is here, and this is being shown. Now let's increase its size. Instead of 24, let's go to 32, because this is overall achievement, and make it little centrally and mid aligned, and we show it here. Perfect. So now let's try our year. So if I change year, you can see that overall achievement is getting changed based upon our selection of year. Now let's give this table a name which we need to give. So I copy the name and I just bring it here, and the name would be, I can say, achievement percentage. And let's increase its size to 18. Instead of 18, let's do it 16. And this is our achievement percentage. And let's do one thing. Let's put it little above here. It looks fine. And on the left side and on the right side, let's put the numbers which actually happened throughout that year, because on entire, I can say, dashboard, the total numbers of that particular year are not shown. So let's do one thing. We can write actual revenue, and on the right side, let's bring it here. On the right side, we can write as target revenue. Perfect. Now below these things, we need to put the actual numbers and the target numbers. So I just copy it here, and let's go to our pivot table. We know that our actual revenue was 5.8 million in 2024 and target was 8.2 million. So we go and select the data of actual revenue, and just do a little bit formatting, which we did previously on others as well. Increase its size to 24, make it centrally aligned, and you can see this 5.8 million revenue is here. And let's do one more adjustment to it. So let's insert a shape, and the shape should be for the shape would be used as a, I can say, icon mark. So what looks good, we can go and select, I can say, some arrow. So this is the arrow. So we select this arrow and we just change the arrow's color. So the color of the arrow has been updated and we don't need any outline on the arrow. So this is the actual revenue, and corresponding to this actual revenue, let's group them together. What we can just do is to show and copy these both the line items together. So let me just select these both line items together. 1 second. Yes, I just copy and paste these line items here as well. And this was our target revenue. Now inside the target revenue, we need to connect that again with our table. So this is nice. Size is 24 and size is, I can say, 24. And this has been updated here. And this looks good. So we have our actual revenue, we have our target revenue, and we have our achievement percentage, which is 70%. Let's try to update our dashboard. So in 2025, these numbers keeps on changing to show our actual revenue versus our target revenue. And all the numbers are getting changed based on our selection. Now, when we have created this is entirely our blank area. So we need to use that to define what this report is containing. So let's copy our text from here and let's use this as a text box and show what all details have been filled in here inside this dashboard. So it would be helpful for users to understand. So details of dashboard, and let's do it bold. Let's reduce its size to around 14 and let's make it underline. So now finally, first, we don't want to have the underline and bold details now. So this will contain revenue by category. Second, it will contain top selling products. Third, it will have our top selling month in a year. On the fourth number, it will have our revenues by country. On the fifth scale, it will have top 5 countries revenue. On the sixth scale, it will show achievement by zones. On the seventh scale, it will show overall achievement. On the seventh scale, it will show target revenue versus, we can say, actual revenue. These are the details of dashboard here. And let's do one thing. Let's make these as centrally aligned and return in center. And let's do have a background for these details of dashboard as well. So I will copy the shape, paste it, bring the shape on the left. I will reduce the size of the shape to match whatever text is written here. Let me just bring it below. That is fine. On the left, little bit, and let me just send it to backwards. Once we have done that, these are the details of this dashboard, and we can select any of the year, and based upon that, we will have different data points. I hope you liked it, and thank you so much for watching.